This is the Colt 1903, and it is the second semi-automatic pocket pistol that Colt ever produced. I'm gonna give you a wild hint on who developed this pistol. He's the exact same guy that invented the 1911, the M1918 BAR, which is one of my all-time favorite machine guns, the Modus. He also invented hundreds of other firearms and calibers, many of which are still in use today. The man is John Browning. Now, John Browning is the single most important firearms inventor of the 19th and 20th century. Many of his patents are still in use today, 100 years later. I wonder how people are gonna remember me in 100 years.
Shoot, I know how they're gonna remember Johnny Fingers, baby.
What are you doing, Johnny?
I'm making a fossil.
A fossil of what?
The most important part of Johnny, my nutsack.
You're, okay. He's making a fossil of his nutsack, ladies and gentlemen. That's what this YouTube channel has come to. In the early 1900s, the Colt 1903 Pocket Hammerless was one of the only concealed carry firearms available, which is crazy when you think about it. So today, there are literally hundreds, maybe thousands of different concealed carry guns to choose from. But back then, this is really where it was at. The Great Depression was an economic downturn that began in 1929. While the rest of the world was struggling to stay alive, John Dillinger received some very horrific news while serving a 10-year prison sentence in Indiana. He had gonorrhea.
Shit, I've been there. It still burns when I pee. But I like the pain.
While Dillinger was in prison, he was quoted as saying, "I will be the meanest bastard you ever saw when I get out of this place." Thug life, baby. You know, John got out in 1933 and he set out to keep that promise. They robbed 12 banks, a police arsenal, and they killed 10 men. He must have been sexist because he never killed a woman. They wounded 7 others and they staged 3 successful jailbreaks. Fella right there is a real overachiever. Dillinger was also accused of another 12 bank robberies. So yeah, this dude was on a mission. Dillinger's fame and notoriety earned him the status of public enemy #1 by the Bureau of Investigation, which would later become the FBI. After a 10-month-long manhunt, the BOI received a tip from Anna Sage, a local madam of a brothel. Now, as Dillinger was leaving the theater, he noticed that he was being followed. He reached into his pocket, he pulled out a Colt 1903, but before he could get a shot off, bang! He was shot in the head. In 1920, Americans made one of the dumbest decisions in history. They made alcohol illegal. Shoot, if it wasn't for alcohol, Gator wouldn't be here. Well, alcohol and a broken rubber. The start of Prohibition started an era of extreme violence and power. And the man who capitalized on this opportunity was Al Capone, an American hero. My all-time favorite quote from Al Capone is, "It's better to ask with a smile and a gun than with a smile by itself." Man, spoken like an American legend. Al Capone ran brothels and bootlegging operations all across the city of Chicago, amassing a fortune of over $1.3 billion. And look at my dumb ass over here making YouTube videos. I purchased a brothel last year. Well, it was advertised as a pussy factory. Turns out it was just an elderly lady breeding cats. But man, they bring home the paper. Legend has it that Al Capone carried a Colt 1903 inside of his jacket pocket every single day. Man, I would love to own that gun. The Colt 1903 was also used by the famous stick-up gang, Bonnie and Clyde, who gained a reputation for violent robberies of banks, gas stations, and small stores. Why the f would you be robbing a gas station? I don't know. It was the 20s. Between 1932 and 1934, Bonnie and Clyde committed 13 murders, dozens of robberies and burglaries. In 1934, Clyde orchestrated the escape of several prison inmates in the East Ham breakout. Now, this prison escape caused so much negative publicity in the state of Texas that the state had to do something. So they contacted a retired Texas Ranger to hunt down the Barrow Gang. Yeah! If anybody can stop Bonnie and Clyde, it is Chuck Norris. Yeah. In April of 1934, the Barrow Gang killed a highway patrolman named H.D. Murphy, sparking an amazing amount of public outrage. Former Texas Ranger Frank Hamer was offered $1,000 for the bodies of Bonnie and Clyde, not for their capture. On a rural road in Louisiana, the former Texas Rangers prepared for an ambush. As Bonnie and Clyde approached the ambush point, Texas Rangers stepped out and they fired over 130 bullets at the duo. Bonnie and Clyde were each shot over 50 times. Inside of their vehicle, authorities found dozens of firearms and thousands of rounds of ammunition. Now, some of the guns included 2 Browning BARs, 1911s, and you guessed it, 2 Colt 1903 pocket hammerless pistols. It's amazing, but it really makes sense why the Colt 1903 was so popular back in the day. I mean, it's beautiful, it's sexy, and it's thin. Does that remind you of anybody? But how does the Colt 1903 shoot? Let's head out to my brand new range in Wimauma and see how she shoots. I'm here in Wimauma, Florida, where my friends Steven and Dustin have allowed me to use a portion of their property to build a gun range. Thank you both for being so awesome, and I hope you have great insurance. You're gonna need it. Let's shoot some shit. The Colt 1903 pocket hammerless was manufactured between 1903 and 1945, and this particular firearm was made in 1924. As I mentioned earlier, the 1903 is chambered in .32 ACP. Now, this is a .32 ACP round compared to a 9mm, which is pretty common today. Man, that kind of reminds me of that time in basic training I had to take a shower with that black guy. Now, the .32 ACP is a small caliber according to modern standards. However, it must have been an effective round because on April 30th of 1945, Adolf Hitler used a Walther PPK to commit suicide while hiding in a bunker in Berlin. What a little bitch. I reckon he was afraid of getting captured by them aliens. Buck, did you mean to say the Allies? Hey, what'd I say? Now, the name of the Colt 1903 hammerless pocket pistol is very deceiving because the hammer is actually concealed inside of the gun. But before I can show you that, we have to actually disassemble the firearm. Now, the first step is we're just gonna make sure it's unloaded. Then you can see these little tiny arrows and line here on the bottom of the slide. We're going to simply pull the slide back until it lines up. So we're gonna rotate the barrel slightly, and then we allow the barrel to slide to move forward. Now the slide will actually pop off, and we can rotate the barrel one more time, and the barrel comes right out. Now, what is really awesome to see is how innovative John Browning created this lockup. So you can see that the grooves in the barrel actually line up with the grooves of the frame, and it locks right in securely. You can see right back here the back of this hammer, and I'll squeeze that trigger and let it go forward. So that's it. It's not a hammerless gun. The Colt 1903 comes with an 8-round magazine, a grip safety, and a manual thumb safety that also operates as a slide catch. Now, Colt manufactured over 500,000 1903s chambered in 32 ACP between 1903 and 1945. And they produced over 200,000 of them for military contracts. Several thousand Colt 1903s were shipped over to England during World War I and World War II. In fact, legend has it that General Patton actually carried one of these pistols. Until next time, stay dangerous. Hey, you with the microphone, give me all your shit. I'm tired of this YouTube game, son. I gotta get that paper. Thug life. What are you doing, Johnny? A fossil of what? Okay. He's making a fossil of his nutsack.
Let's take it from the top.
Okay.
My nutsack. That's the way she said it. Alright.
Johnny needs to talk about himself in the third person. Right? Isn't that what douchebags do?
Yeah. Roll and slate, and then I'll have you do it and say your line.
Let's fucking go, man.
Do you know what your line is?
Yeah.
Okay. Low and raspy. Or I'm gonna make you do it again. Alright, rolling.
Script 5, scene 10, take 1.
I gave him Madden. It hurts too much. In 1920, the Americas... Idiot, see? Drinking. I purchased a brothel last year. Well, it was advertised as a pussy factory. Turns out it was just an elderly lady breeding cats. But man, they bring home the paper.
Alright, good cut.